Alright, hey guys, welcome back. This is Joel, and in this video we'll talk about OSPF, right? A very simple protocol, right, which we have used quite a number of times, but we are going to configure OSPF in a NXOS environment, right? So this video and probably subsequent videos which follow this, I will try to cover some very basic protocols and technologies which are used in the data center space. Okay. In this video we are not going to talk much into theory because we have already covered OSPF in detail in my route and switch section, right? In that routing playlist you can go and check and you will get all the details which you need. In this one we are basically going to concentrate on this lab and how to configure it, right? That being said, if you don't have access to EVE-NG or probably viral, then I would suggest you to go to dcloud, and here you have a very good sandbox where you have all the images which you need, and you'll be able to explore various topologies, right? Cool. Coming back, I'm doing this on Eve. So what do we have here? So we have two, as you see here, we have two areas, don't we? Yeah. So we've got two areas. Let me just grab that. Yeah. So we've got area 0 and area 5. Area 0 is your backbone. Area 5 is another area, and in this case we are configuring the area 5 to be a stub area. Cool. And this guy in the center, he is going to be your area border router, ABR, right? And the rest of the switches are basically going to be, these two are going to be part of the area 0, and this is going to be part of area 5. Cool. So we are going to explore how to configure stub, and we'll also enable OSPF authentication, right? We'll enable authentication for IPv4. For V6 we will not enable authentication. Other thing which we also will check out here is for like for example, you see here we are going to enable OSPF v4, and the process number is going to be 21, right, on this link, and we will also have v6 on the same link with the process number of 21. It can be a different process number as well, but I'm using 21 here. On this one we will use point-to-point OSPF, right? Whereas here it is going to be broadcast OSPF, here it is going to be point-to-point OSPF, and the OSPF number is going to be 21, and this is going to be only for IPv4. Here we are going to go back to my broadcast OSPF, but then we will enable again v4 and v6. But here you can observe that the v4 number is, or the instance process number is 21, whereas v6 is going to be 23, right? So in total we are basically going to have only one process which is 21 for v4, and for v6 we are going to have 21 and 23, right? So we are going to have two v6 processes, as you see here, this one, and we are going to have only one v4 process, right, which is 21. Cool. So we'll understand more as we get into it. Now let's just look at the device a bit. Let me get rid of that. Yeah. So let's go back here, and probably I can remove this one. Yeah. So let's go to the switch one, which is the ABR, right? Let's look at the show version. This is what I'm using. I'm using 7.3. It's a titanium image, right? You get this image if you have access to viral, Cisco viral. I don't think they are publishing these images anymore. I think it's end of life, but it's a very good image if you want to practice a little bit of NXOS 7K, 3K, 5K, right? The CLIs are very useful if you check this out. Okay. So that being said, that's switch 1, that's the ABR, and the rest of the switches are switch 10, 11 and 15, right? And those are switches which are present in the respective areas. Okay, what do we do first? So that being said, the first thing is, let's go and enable this license, guys. The license is very important, else none of the features will work. So we'll say license grace, I think it's period. So let's go and do that. Yeah, there you go. So I've enabled the license on all the boxes, and let's simply go and check what configuration do we have. So right now I've configured the IP addresses, show IP interface brief, right, there you go. And the other one is show IPv6, right, because we have v6 as well. Interface brief. Okay, there you go. So that's what I've already configured. Like on switch 1, I have a loopback which is 1.1.1, and the three links which is 2/1, 2/2 and 2/3, which I've already configured in a /30 IP address space, right, which is 2/1, 2/2 and 2/3. So I've already configured the IP addresses. You can use any IP addresses you want, but I have used in the 1010 space with /30 as being my subnet, right? So that's there. And on the IPv6 side as well, I have configured IPv6 on two interfaces on my ABR, which is 2/1 on this interface and 2/3. Cool, because I really don't want IPv6 here, so I have not configured an IPv6 address. So I have configured IPv6 only on this guy and this guy, and the addresses are very much visible over here, which is you can see here 2201 db1:1 and 2201 db2:1. Those are the two addresses. And the same thing I've already done on the other switches as well, right? So we have switch 10, where I've configured the IPv4 and v6, and on switch 11 we just have IPv4, and on switch 15 we have v4 and v6, right? So that's the basic thing which I've done. Now let's go about configuring the simplest protocol, which is OSPF. First thing is, let's do IPv4, right? So router OSPF, the process is 21. I'm on ABR. Okay, process 21. Router ID is important. Let's go with the router ID, which is 1.1.1. Next is area. Define the area. What are my two areas? One is the backbone area, and do we have authentication? Yes, we want authentication for the backbone area. We'll say message digest. And the other area we don't want authentication, so I'm going to just say area 5. And this area we want it to be a slightly interesting kind of an area, which is a stub. What is a stub and all of that, I'm not going to again explain because it's there in my other playlist. But yeah, so I'm going to configure the area 5 as a stub. Done? Cool. Now let's get into the other two router OSPF processes, which is OSPF but v3 and 21. Right, from the diagram you can remember we have two more processes which are for IPv6, and what we are going to do here is again do the same thing, router ID 1.1.1.1, and we don't have to explicitly define area 0 because in v6 by default the area 0 is part of it if you don't define it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the other router OSPF v3, and this is going to be 23, right, which is 23. Let's go back to the diagram. So this was 21, OSPF v3 21. Now we'll do OSPF v3 23, and this one is part of which one? It's part of area 5, so I'll have to explicitly define it. Before that, let's put a router ID here as well, and area is going to be .5, and it's going to be a stub. Cool, that's it. So that's mainly the let's look at the configuration of it. Show run section router, or show run section, maybe let's do OSPF. There you go. That's what we did, right? We enabled the two features. This is your IPv4, this is your IPv6. Two processes for IPv6, one process for IPv4. Cool, I think that's very much straightforward. Now remember we have that loopback address right here, loopback 0. Let's go to this guy. Let's go and put this loopback 0 where? We'll put the loopback 0 in my IPv4 OSPF 21 process. So I'm going to say IP router OSPF, and then we have to put the process number and which area does it belong. Let's put this in the backbone. Cool, we have taken care of the loopback as well. Now let's take care of these let's take care of these three interfaces, 2/1, 2/2 and 2/3, right? So let's look at what do we have in 2/1. Show run interface Ethernet 2/1. Okay, that's what we have. We have a MAC address, we have IPv4, IPv6, right? That's what. So we'll get into this guy. There we go. And we will put in the first part, which is actually before doing this, let's define the keychain because that's important for authentication, right? So keychain is like a way of kind of organizing all your credentials, right, which you are going to use for authentication purposes. So I'm going to define a keychain. I'm going to call this as say my pass, and you'll have to give some ID, right, because one keychain can have multiple keys. So I'm going to use a key ID which is key 0, and I'll give a key string as well. This is the password. So I'm going to say Cisco. It has to match on both the sides, right, and that's it. So that's your keychain, right? Now that we have defined keychain, let's go to configuring Ethernet 2/1. Sorry, I think it is 2/1. Okay. So under the interface 2/1, we'll say IP OSPF authentication, and what's the authentication? We'll say message digest, right? Message digest. So when you enable this, we are basically enabling the MD5 authentication and not clear text, right? So what it will do is it will take the message, the OSPF message, and along with the encrypted password which you have configured, right, it will create some kind of a hashed MD5 digest, right, which will be sent along with your packet, along with the OSPF packet, and on the other side the neighbor, right, to which you are sending, that will also recompute it, and if the MD5 matches, then the message is accepted, else it is rejected. Cool. So IP OSPF authentication message digest, then you have IP OSPF authentication. You'll have to link that keychain which you created earlier, right? So the keychain, what is the keychain name? It's called mypass. So let's grab this, let's put it here. Done. Now next is we'll have to take this interface and put it as part of router OSPF 21 and area being 0.0.0. Okay, and we have already configured the IPv6 address, so we'll also enable this for IPv6, very same as this command what we did above. So we're going to say IPv6 but router OSPF v3 but 21 and area is going to be 0.0.0. there you go. Okay, and no shut. We can just have a look at what we did. Show run interface Ethernet 2/1, right? That's what we did. Right, we have a MAC address, we have a IPv4, we have a IPv6, then we enabled OSPF authentication for v4, right, using that keychain which we defined earlier. We also enabled MD5 and we enabled this particular interface as part of the router OSPF v4 and v6. Cool. Let's go to the next interface, which is interface Ethernet 2/2, right. The 2/1 was in the broadcast OSPF. Now 2/2 will be point-to-point OSPF. So what is the difference? The authentication will still remain the same, so we can just grab these two lines and put them again, right? But the next is we have to put IP OSPF network, but we'll have to explicitly say this is point-to-point network, right? That way, when you are doing this, if you do point-to-point, the advantage is that the designated router election and all of that doesn't happen, right? So once you have done it as point-to-point, obviously the next part is you have to grab this line because you want this particular interface also to be part of what? IPv4 OSPF 21, right? Backbone. So let's put that and let's do no shut. That's it. There is no IPv6 on this guy. So we are good with this one. Let's do the last interface, which is 2/3. 2/3, okay? So on 2/3 again we have the IPv4 address, so we will let's actually look at that. I've forgotten. Interface Ethernet 2/3. Yeah, there you go. So we've got the MAC address, IPv4, IPv6, right? So what we'll do here is we'll do something slightly different. Let's change the hello time interval, right? By default, the OSPF hello time interval is 10 seconds, right? By default it is 10 and the dead interval is 40 seconds. Dead interval is always hello interval multiplied by 4. But in this case I want to tinker that a bit. So what I'm going to do is IP OSPF, I'll say hello interval, change it to 25, right? So let's change it to 25 and by default because you changed hello interval to 25, the dead interval will change to 100. Next, we'll say IP router OSPF. Let's look at the diagram, I keep forgetting it. So we want the IPv4 to be in process 21, so let's go and put it in 21. So this is going to be part of 21 and the area is going to be different. Area is going to be 0.0.5 though, okay, because it's in stub. Now IPv6 address is already there, so we'll enable the same thing but IPv6, right? OSPF area, this is okay, the area will be 23 though. Let's look at the diagram again. Yeah, the area is 23. We want the, sorry, the process is going to be 23, right? We are changing the process. For v4 it is 21, for v6 it is 23. And once you are done with that, let's put the area and it's going to be the same area as above. Alright, that's it. Let's quickly have a look at this. What do we do? Show run interface Ethernet 2/1, right? 2/2 and 2/3. That's what we did, right? Let's verify. 2/1 looks good. We just have we have both IPv4 and v6 enabled, but 21 is the process number for both of them. For 2/2 it is point to point, and we just have IPv4 21, and for 2/3 we have changed the hello interval a bit, and we are using v4 process 21 and v6 process of 23. Okay, so that's mainly it. Let's jump on to the other box, which is switch 10, which is this one over here, right? Again, the IP addresses are configured, so we will directly jump into enabling the feature OSPF v3. Okay, that's done. Next, let's actually put these both guys on all the other two as well, because we need the features, right? So let's enable that, and let's enable it here as well. Okay, on all the three boxes. Cool. Coming back, let's come back here on switch 10. First is let's work on the router v4, right? OSPF 21. Okay, that's bad, right? There you go. Router OSPF 21. Router ID is going to be different from the first switch, so we'll go with 1.1, 1.10. I think that's a good number. It has to be unique though. Per process, it has to be unique. So here we are using 1.10. In the previous one, you used 0.1. Now we have enabled authentication on the other side. We'll have to do the same thing here as well. So for area 0, we are going to enable authentication message digest. There is no area 5 on this guy, right? So just have area 0 on this switch. So we're going to use only area 0. Sweet, that is done. Next, with respect to router OSPF v3, what do we do? v3, and the process number is 21. The router ID, I can use this guy, the same guy. Right, let's grab this one. Yeah. So I think that's it. That's it about router OSPF 21 for v4 and v6, right? We have defined the router processes. Let's quickly do that keychain part, right? The keychain should be exactly same as what you defined here, right? Let's actually copy it from here. Show run section key, right? This, oh, okay. See, in the running config, it gets stored as type 7. So we'll have to, you can probably grab these two lines, paste it here, and then change the key string to Cisco. Done? Cool. So that being done, now do we have any loopback interfaces on this one? Yes, we have. So let's go and put this interface loopback 0, and the IP address is already there. So let's put this guy in IP router OSPF 21 area 0.0.0. Cool. That's good. And we'll probably create one more. Oh, we already have one more loopback here. So let's put that loopback in the other router, in the other OSPF process, right? So we'll do something like IP router, or maybe let's put it in the same one. It's fine. Let's put it in the same one. So we'll say area, 0. Cool. Cool. So everything is in router OSPF 21, which is the IPv4 OSPF. Cool. Okay. What else? So we still have one more interface to be configured, don't we? This interface. Where is the diagram? Yeah, 2/1. Let's quickly go and configure 2/1. So run interface Ethernet 2/1. Okay, there you go. We have the IP addresses on it. So interface Ethernet 2/1. Okay. So what do we configure here? First thing is authentication. So IP show, okay, IP OSPF authentication and keychain. Right? Keychain. What's the keychain which we used? MyPass. Right? Let's do that. So apart from that, what do we have? So the other thing is probably because we are going to be doing broadcast based OSPF here, let's force this switch to be the designated router, right? How do we do that? We can do that by changing the priority. So I can say IP OSPF, and I can say priority, and I can give a higher priority, which is 10, right? By doing this, this router will come up as a designated router. Okay, just trying to play around a bit, that's it, right? We already have the v6 address, so let's go and enable this particular interface for both the OSPF processors, which is IP router OSPF 21 and area being 0 because it's backbone. Let's do the same thing for IP router and OSPF v3, right, 21, and the area is still going to be 0. Okay, that's it guys, nothing complicated. Actually we can go and check out if something has come out now. So what we'll do is probably, let's go back to the first switch and let's see if the OSPF neighbors are coming up. Show IP OSPF neighbors, there you go, the OSPF process 21 has come up. You can see more details by running commands like, show IP OSPF, right, it will give you the routing process 21 is enabled. We have 2 areas which are configured, right, all information it gives you. We can also get information about interfaces by running show IP, give me a second, yeah, show IP OSPF interface brief, and that will give you about the interfaces on which the OSPF is running, the cost of the interface. You can also get the state, right, is it in the designated, it's a DR, right, because it's a broadcast. Ethernet 2/1 and 2/3 they are in broadcast mode, whereas 2/2 it is in the point-to-point OSPF mode. Cool. So that's it. And what else you can see? Let's also check the IPv6. Let's see if something has happened over there. So we can do show OSPF v3 neighbors, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Let's try that. OSPF v3 neighbors. Yeah, there you go, right? So we have one neighbor because we have configured only switch 10, right? The neighbor has come up. We can also do show IPv6, OSPF v3 and interface. So this will give information about the OSPF v3 enabled interfaces. Right now it is 2/1 and 2/3. Cool. So that's good, looking good. Let's also look at the routing table if needed. Show IP route. Okay, see, I've already learned some routes, especially 1.1.10, right? So I can ping this guy, which is my switch 10, and there you go, I'm able to ping it. Cool. Okay, so that's good. We can also probably later try to ping the v6 as well. Anyway, so we have configured 2 switches, 2 more remaining. Let's quickly finish that. Let's go back to the diagram. We are doing switch 11 now. So on switch 11, I already have the config here, so I'm going to just paste it quickly, right? So let's enable the, we still need authentication on this one, right? So let's enable router OSPF 21, router ID, right? The router ID is important. We are changing it to .11, and the authentication is going to be message digest, right? So I'm going to paste that one, right? So the authentication type should be same on both the sides. That's why we are using the same everywhere, right? Cool. And then we'll also create that keychain which we created earlier. There you go, keychain, and the key string has to be given. Once that is done, let's go to the loopback interface. I believe we have a loopback on this one, and we'll put that guy in the area 21, right? OSPF 21 area 0. We also have one more interface, which is interface loopback 11. We're going to put that interface in the same OSPF process and area as well. Okay, the only last thing remaining is the interface 2/1, right? Let's go back to the diagram. 2/1. This 2/1 is just going to run IPv OSPF v2. OSPF v2, which is IPv4. So let's go and do that. So let's get to the interface, which is 2/1. First is, as usual, let's enable authentication, so that authentication goes through. There you go. We'll have to use the same mypass which we configured. And 2/1, remember this guy is a point-to-point OSPF, so we'll have to use the same command which we used on the other side, which is IP OSPF network point-to-point. And after doing that, we'll have to explicitly put this interface in the corresponding process and the area. So there you go, that's done, and we'll say no shut. So as soon as you did no shut, and if you go and rerun the command of show IP OSPF neighbors, we should get one more neighbor. There you go. So we have received the second neighbor, and it has already gone to the full state, right? And there is one more thing which I also want to show here. For the other neighbor, right, which is for 1.1.10, you see the switch one has gone to BDR, right? Whereas this guy, show IP OSPF neighbors, you can see This guy has taken up the DR role. Why? Because remember we configured the priority of 10, right? That's why this guy has gone to the DR role, whereas switch 1 has gone to the BDR role, right? Which is this is the backup designated router, whereas the switch 10 is the designated router. Cool. So we are done with 3 switches. One more switch remaining to finish our task, which is switch 15, guys. So switch 15, what do we do? So on switch 15, we want two OSPF processes, which is 21 and 23. So let's get to it. Okay. So first things first, let's go and do the IPv4, right? So for IPv4, the only difference is the router ID is going to be different from the other routers or from the other switches, and the area is going to be a stub area, right? Because this is a stub area. So the area ID you put, and then you put the stub keyword, right? So as soon as you put that, this area gets converted to a stub area, right? Stub area basically doesn't allow any type 5 LSAs, right? That's something which is very basic. Okay. And the other process which we want is IPv6. So let's go and define that also. Router OSPF v3 23, right? This is the OSPF IPv6 OSPF process, and the area is again defined as stub for that as well. Happy with this? Let's go to the loopbacks, right? The first loopback interface, loopback 0, we are going to put him in basically, you know, OSPF 21, but area is going to be 5 here. Okay. Same thing for the other loopback, which is I think 15, right, on this one. So we will put the loopback in the same area as above. Okay. That is done. Only one configuration remaining, which is the configuration of this Ethernet 2/1, right? So let's see. Oh, my bad. Let's go back here. So Ethernet 2/1, we want IPv4 and IPv6. Okay. Let's see what configuration do we have already. Show run interface Ethernet 2/1. Okay. There you go. We have the IPv4 and IPv6 address. So we are sorted. Let's just grab this one. Let's put it here. But there is one more thing. Remember, we changed the hello interval, right? We changed the hello interval on my switch here. So let's look at that. Where is that? Show run interface Ethernet 2/3. Okay, there you go, right? We changed the hello interval on the switch one side, so we'll have to use the same hello interval here as well, else the adjacency will not come up. The hello interval has to match. So now we have changed the hello interval on both the sides, and the adjacency will come up. Okay, so that's one important point which I want to show you here. The other stuff is pretty straightforward. Let's go and enable IP router OSPF, and obviously the process is 21, area is 0.0.5. Okay, and same thing for IPv6. We'll just change this to from V to V6, IP to IPv6. That's it. But then I think the area we have to change to 23, right? As per my diagram, we are running the other process here, right? We are running 23 on here, and here also we have configured 23 if I'm not wrong. Let's go back and check. Yeah, see, we have 23. So we'll have to use the same thing on this one as well. There you go. And with that, I'm going to say no shut. Okay. Let's run the show commands on this one this time. So I'm going to say show IP OSPF neighbors. There you go. Perfect. Switch 15 has formed neighborship, and you can see it has gone to the DR state. And the other command which I can run probably here is show IPv6 OSPF v3 neighbors. Okay, there you go. There is one neighbor as expected, right, on the Ethernet 2/1 interface. Okay, let's probably look at the routing table, guys. Let's see if the routes have everything has been exchanged, right? Show IP route directly. Okay, there you go. You've got the routes, right? You can see on my switch 15, I am seeing the routes from my switch 1. I'm seeing the routes from my switch 10, switch 11, right? And here again, you know, you have switch 1, switch 11, and this is my local route, and switch 10 as well, 10.1, 11.1 and 15.1, right? So all the three switches routes are seen, right? We can actually do a ping and verify as well. So we can do a ping to what? probably let's do a ping to 1.1.1, right? So that's me pinging switch 1, that is working. Let's ping switch 10, right? 1.1.10, that's working. And let's ping 15. Okay, so 15 is me, so there's no point in pinging, right? What else? Okay, 11 is the other switch, so let's ping 11. There you go. Since all these three loopbacks are in the same routing process, they're able to talk to each other, and the routes are exchanged and they're all reachable. Okay, so that looks good. Alright guys, so that's mainly what I wanted to show you here. Just to quickly summarize, let's look at the configuration one last time. Show run probably section OSPF, right? You see, we just need to enable the features, then go and enable the, if you're doing IPv4 OSPF, do this. If you want to do IPv6 OSPF, enable the corresponding processors, right? You can even have multiple routing processors, just like how I have done here, 21 and 26. And once done with that, you can then go to every interface, right? Show run interface Ethernet 2/1, right? You can go to each of the interface and you can define your IP addresses, v4 and v6. You can enable authentication in this way, and this is basically how you can enable the OSPF processes under the interfaces, right? 2/2 was your point-to-point, so this is how you can define an interface or OSPF interface to be point-to-point. So that's pretty straightforward. And we can also, on the 2/3, we can also see how you can change some of the basic parameters like the hello interval, right? And once you match everything, the authentication and all the basic parameters on both the sides of the link, the adjacencies will come up. And once the adjacencies come up, you will be able to see all the routes, all the OSPF routes in the routing table, right? Similarly, you can also see show IPv6 route as well. But yeah, so we should have, there you go. So we've got all these routes. So we should be able to ping so say ping 6, right? And you put in the IP address, right? You'll be able to ping that as well. Cool. So like I said, this is a very simple video on how to configure OSPF on NXOS. Hope you liked it, and do come back for other configuration labs on data center, right? Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Have a good one. Bye.